Eala, she's very dangerous player.
When Eala fell to her knees crying on center court, fans couldn't believe what they were seeing. But the key to understanding that emotional moment wasn't on the court, and it wasn't in her bag.
For someone who grew up in the Philippines and
It was tucked away in a shoebox somewhere in a Manila home, resting beside a pair of light-up shoes with long dead batteries and a pair of ruffled socks that no longer fit anyone.
I went to train with brother and my grandfather every day after school with my ruffled socks and my light-up shoes and chubby cheek.
The journey didn't begin on center court. It started years earlier on a modest tennis court in Manila, where a young Eala rushed to practice every afternoon after school. Her racket looked oversized in her hands, but her determination never did. She followed her older brother through drills and worked tirelessly under the watchful guidance of her grandfather, learning that every practice session mattered. Now, at 21 years old, that same little girl stood on the sport's grandest stage. On July 4, 2026, thousands of fans packed center court at Wimbledon, witnessing a moment that would become part of Philippine sporting history. When Eala struck the final forehand winner, she froze for a split second before letting her racket fall. Then she dropped to her knees, overcome with emotion. Across the Philippines, millions of viewers shared those tears, watching one of their own achieve something no Filipino had accomplished in the open era on that court. What made the victory extraordinary wasn't simply the result. It was the mountain she had climbed to get there. Before Wimbledon, Eala had struggled to make deep runs at Grand Slams. She arrived with limited success at the major level and had never advanced beyond the early rounds. Waiting across the net was one of the biggest names in women's tennis, a reigning Wimbledon champion, a top 3 player, and someone widely expected to continue her title defense. Most analysts focused on the obvious differences: rankings, experience, and achievements. Few noticed that Eala possessed a tactical weapon perfectly suited to this matchup. Her slower, high-spinning left-handed serve, often criticized as a weakness, disrupted her opponent's timing throughout the contest and became an important part of her game plan. The opening set was a battle of nerves that stretched well beyond an hour. Momentum swung repeatedly as both players exchanged breaks and refused to give an inch. Whenever it seemed the defending champion would take control, Eala answered with fearless shot-making and remarkable composure. The tiebreak became the turning point. Under enormous pressure, she trusted her patterns, mixed the pace on her serve, and forced difficult returns. Point by point, she edged ahead until she finally secured the set, sending a clear message that this was no ordinary upset. That confidence carried into the second set. Eala attacked early, held her service games with authority, and dictated rallies against one of the best players in the world. For a long stretch, she wasn't surviving, she was controlling the match. The defending champion mounted one last challenge, forcing tense, extended games that tested Eala's composure. But she refused to retreat. She saved crucial break points, stayed aggressive when it mattered most, and earned another opportunity to finish the match. On match point, she stepped inside the baseline and struck one final forehand with complete conviction. As the ball landed, center court erupted. She released her racket, covered her face with her hands, and collapsed onto the grass in tears. The statistics confirmed it wasn't luck. She earned the victory through disciplined tactics, fearless execution, and unwavering belief. Yet numbers alone could never capture what the moment meant. For millions of Filipinos, it represented far more than a single Wimbledon win. It was proof that a dream born on neighborhood courts in Manila could one day conquer the biggest stage. Eala's tears on center court didn't mark the end of her journey, they revealed where it began. Long before Wimbledon, there was a grandfather she lovingly called Lolo Bob. It was he who first introduced her to tennis, turning ordinary afternoons into lessons that would shape her future. Practice wasn't about chasing trophies back then. It was about spending time together, learning discipline, and falling in love with the game one rally at a time. As Eala has shared in interviews, every major milestone reminds her of the sacrifices her grandfather made to help her chase an unlikely dream. That's why, moments after the biggest victory of her career, she spoke about her brother and grandfather instead of herself. For her, they weren't part of the backstory, they were the reason the story existed at all. Even after an emotional celebration, Eala made one thing clear: she wasn't finished. She celebrated the achievement, but her focus quickly shifted to the next challenge. That mindset says as much about her character as any trophy ever could. Her performance also earned the respect of her opponent. Rather than making excuses, the defending champion openly acknowledged that Eala's style disrupted her rhythm throughout the match. Praise from an elite competitor carries special weight because it reflects genuine respect for what happened on the court. Back home, the victory resonated far beyond tennis. For years, Filipino sports fans had united around iconic moments in boxing. Now, another athlete was giving the country a new reason to gather around their televisions, this time for one of tennis's biggest stages. The significance of the moment becomes even clearer when you consider the history. For decades, Filipino players had searched for a breakthrough at Wimbledon. Eala's run changed that conversation, proving that a player from the Philippines could compete and win against the very best in the world. What's remarkable is how quickly everything changed. Just days earlier, she had faced adversity in the previous round, dropping the opening set before responding with confidence and determination. Instead of allowing doubt to take over, she adjusted, fought back, and carried that belief into an even tougher matchup against one of the tournament favorites. That wasn't luck. It wasn't a fairy tale. It was the product of years of preparation, resilience, and trust in a game plan built long before the spotlight arrived. And perhaps that's why the image of those childhood tennis shoes remains so powerful. They symbolize a dream that began on neighborhood courts, guided by family, strengthened through sacrifice, and eventually carried onto the most famous grass court in the world. Now another challenge awaits. With a place in the Grand Slam quarterfinals on the line, Eala returns to center court to face another elite opponent. Expectations are higher than ever, but so is her confidence. Whatever happens next, one thing is already certain: she has inspired a new generation of Filipino tennis fans to believe that the biggest stages in the sport are no longer out of reach.
Eala, she's a very dangerous player.
Those childhood shoes may still be resting in a quiet corner of a family home in Manila, but the little girl who once wore them is now standing on tennis's biggest stage. She is just one victory away from reaching territory no Filipino player has ever reached in the open era. Whatever happens next, her story has already come full circle. A child who first picked up a racket to spend time with her grandfather has grown into an athlete, inspiring an entire nation. When she fell to her knees on center court, it wasn't only a celebration of a remarkable win, it was a tribute to the people who believed in her long before the world knew her name. That moment belonged not just to Eala, but to every dream that began on a small court and refused to stay there.